Well, give it another 30 seconds, and whoever's here is here. We're recording this anyway, so for those that haven't been able to make it, or if you want to share it with your team members, you'll be able to share it after this. We'll also be putting it up on our website for people to refer back to, because I think it's really critical information for us all to understand. So I guess I'll kick off with the intro if you guys think we're good to go, Coulter and Dean.
Yep, goodbye, mate.
Beautiful. So thanks everybody for coming, much appreciated, and realise it's a very busy time of year. So, but this is a really critical subject that we all need to understand and be across now and into the future, because it's only going to get worse as far as the security environment and what we do about it, and what's coming on the landscape as far as, you know, what is recommendations, I think is the best word at the moment, but what will be legislated as well, and how we handle that. So got a lot of faith in these guys. We've dealt with this forms of this company for many years. Tech support and Crash have joined forces, which is really beneficial for to us and our customers. So long history of working with these guys and looking after customers across the country. So keen to see myself, I've been through this, keen to see a bit more in depth and get some feedback. So we'll go through the presentation, and at the end we'll save up your questions, jot them down. We'll do a bit of Q&A for anyone who's got anything to address at the end. So, and as I said, we will be saving this and putting it out for you guys to be able to pass on to team members and access on the website. So on that front, over to Coulter and Dean.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. A quick introduction. My name is Coulter. I work with Dean in Crash Technology as one of the sales reps. Dean is the founder of the business. We've got over 20 years of experience in the IT industry, supporting small, medium businesses, providing full managed services, IT implementations from a security perspective, network intrusion detections, and so on. And at presently, we support about 16 odd Mitre 10 stores and well over 100 customers across the eastern side of Australia. So see, with this, I would like to begin with the main topic, which is our agenda for today, is around the challenges which we are facing. What is the present threat landscape? We want to talk about the ACSC Essential 8 framework. You will hear about this more and more in the near future, because this is a set of guidelines which the Australian Signals Directorate has put forward and will start getting implemented. Dean will walk us through this information and how we can help, or how businesses can achieve maturity level within the Essential 8 framework. We will talk about how business continuity and Office 365 backup are related with managing and helping businesses come out of any threats or challenges they can face in the future. And we will quickly go over security awareness, phishing attack training. There's different things you should watch out for. So with that, we begin. And there's this interesting photo. Now, this is Australia. This is beautiful tropical Queensland. And it's the Brisbane River, which has been through multiple floods. Now, this isn't the only disaster. I know we start off while it's all doom and gloom, but this isn't the only disaster. And as businesses, we haven't all been exposed to natural disasters like cyclones, Fires, we can talk about very random, or it's seldom will happen to a business. But there's this more and more challenges around the weather coming up. However, the main challenge which we have is the fattest finger first. Now, fattest finger first is humans. We make these errors and we're responsible for most of the disasters related to IT. Now, what we're currently seeing within the IT environment of the businesses which we manage is human error is responsible for 68% of challenges, 68% of downtime where they've clicked on something, where there's a security incident which has been created. Ransomware is one of the most common challenges over there, because you've got organizations which are now sophisticated and are working together to target small and medium businesses. And this is a very challenging situation which everybody's facing, and hence there's all these privacy laws and acts coming out. We've got hardware failures, which is sort of a consistent threat, but we've got vendors who are building more and more robust hardware. So that's not a major challenge. The booming threat is security incidents, once again related to human error and ransomware. Natural disasters is a very small part of what challenges we commonly see. So with this, let's talk about how ransomware targets people, technology, the different sort of extortion tactics they have. So they try and get through and exploit a known exploit, which is like a bug or a patch in the system where a software hasn't been updated and someone has found a vulnerability, and they try to get through there. Or they will try to get through by impersonating as either a known supplier or an employee or a known business like DHL or Ozpost trying to send you emails. Not always you get emails like the Nigerian prince who died and is ready to send you $25 million. But you get sophisticated emails, which are the phishing emails. So they try to steal data, and they will use that to publish it online and auction that data. They are notifying different parties that, hey, this data is now ours if you will pay us X amount of dollars in ransomware. For example, that was something they were trying to do with Medibank. We will make sure your data doesn't go out. They warn victims that, because there's an act called Notifiable Data Breaches Act, I'll touch on that a bit later, that if you tell authorities or the police or whoever, we will delete the data. It's very rare that they try and recruit people within the organization to help them with the breach, unless you've got a very disgruntled employee who tries to go onto the dark web and finds someone to do that for themselves. So the first thing is reset passwords. They themselves can reset passwords. They'll create an encryption. They'll try and delete the backups. They'll also print physical copies of the data and so on, followed by denial of service attacks. So make sure the customer can't, or the person who's affected can't get into the data themselves. So, yep.
Kultar, can I just jump in on that point?
Yes, please.
I just want to highlight that probably over the last 12 months, probably 50% of our client base have been attacked in one or more of these ways, via email or direct attacks. So this is not something that is not happening. This is something that is happening pretty much on a regular basis.
So just a quick reference to Sophos, who we work and partner with. that this information has been just referencing that this information is coming from the Sophos website and from the technical experts over there. So we are a Sophos partner and we use their technologies from an antivirus, anti-malware, firewall, security, peripheral defense perspective. We'll move on to the next slide, which talks about a bit more about that attack cycle. So what these cyber criminals are doing, these are sophisticated organizations, and now they're working together to deliver a payload or a package. Now that delivery is the pre-breach, which happens either through that phishing email or it happens through a known exploitation of a vulnerability within a software. They will then, that system, that software which they have exploited will deliver another software which installs itself, and on their command and on their actions, it will take control of the entire data, locks it down, makes it unavailable for the business. Now, let's briefly talk about the two recent attacks. Just to give you guys a quick idea about what happened with Optus and what happened with Medibank. So with Optus, they were unfortunate because they had data which was literally accessible to everyone. And somehow some individual found that data, he grabbed the data and decided to extort Optus. So it wasn't like a breach or a ransomware attack. It was just data which wasn't properly, policies weren't drawn around it. It wasn't properly protected. So Optus has caused a lot of challenges for, and has also created a lot of awareness. Hence, the government is working out on different policies and are going to introduce some harsher and stricter fines for businesses who are not following the right directives, which is part of that Australian Essential 8. The challenges with Optus is the fact that the data wasn't protected, creates larger, bigger lessons on why those IT fundamentals or the Australian Essential 8 needs to be followed, because they had personal data. Like I myself was exposed by that challenge. So it's like everyone knows someone who's been affected by this, and this is in the limelight, is going to cause a lot of changes to the IT fundamentals. Medibank, on the other hand, was going through a full cyber threat cycle where someone was continuously hitting the systems and they were able to encrypt the system, and the response was the adversaries were able to get access to the systems. So that has caused challenges where Medibank on their side took too long on being able to control that attack. And that exfiltration of data, which is an extortion tactic, is where Medibank has now had to make payments, but still they are in various publications having challenges where they've built a brand and now there's customer confidence which is being lost. So those are two examples which I can give you, which are very recent. Let me move on to the next slide. So this basically tells us what is the average impact, the challenges which is faced by a small medium business. Now, not every business cost is going to be about 250K from a ransomware attack. It could be different for every business. Some businesses might be able to recover in 3 days, 4 days. They might not pay the ransomware because they've got some sort of backups. But depending upon what size business you are, you will be facing some form of downtime. There's that challenge. Then you've got your Notifiable Data Breaches Act, where you've got to go ahead and explain and provide all that information to your known customers to your internal team as well, and that has to be done through a government body. So there's time which you put towards that. So on an average, what the research says is it can take up to a month for complete recovery from that incident. And the challenges is the fastest people to bounce back, maybe it is a good news, is manufacturing, production, financial services, professional services, because they've got a better IT team, IT services with the right policies. So that's to give you a quick overview of the challenges. Let me walk you guys through what the regulations, what guidelines are presently being imposed on small to medium businesses. The very first is the Privacy Act, and in there is the notifiable data breaches. Sorry about the typo. There's the notifiable data breaches, which was introduced in 2017. Now, this forms part of the Privacy Act, and it literally applies to any business which can hold personal identity data, and or a business which has turnover more than $3 million. So the Notifiable Data Breaches Act is something which literally applies to any small medium business. Then we've got different certifications. There's the ISO certification, where you're required to have a privacy information management system of how you handle your data. So that's about policies. The GDPR was introduced in the European Union, but literally every business is affected by that. If you're going on, an example is if you're going onto any website, you'll see they now are telling you, hey, do you accept the cookies? And that basically is a result of the GDPR being implemented, because there's that personal information and the tracking information which a website might hold. So that's something which they have to let the customers know. So it does apply to the EU, but literally affects every other country, every other business. And the new policies will be based on the GDPR. That's what we are seeing. There are different policies for Australia and New Zealand, but the Australian ones are looking more towards the EU, and I believe New Zealand will follow. APRA, this is literally about cyber risk management, third party and their adherence. How do you respond to incidents and so on? But once again, it comes down to policies and how you've set up control over the data, or who's got access to the data. Now, the ACSC, this is where the Essential 8 is being enforced, or hasn't been enforced yet. There are 4 maturity levels. There's level 0, level 1, level 2, and 3. I'll get Dean to speak about that in a minute. But this is what the Australian Signals Directorate, which is our spy agency, is trying to, will probably enforce in the next few months or years. And there are 8 separate domains on the Australian Essential 8. The NIST is more like a set of measures to mitigate cybersecurity risk. So we can provide this presentation to you guys earlier, or certain slides, if you put it in the question and answer, so you can have that information. We will have this webinar recorded as well, so you don't have to remember all this, but you'll have access to the data. So with this, I would like to get Dean to quickly speak about the Essential 8 maturity model.
Thanks, Kulta. So as Kulta has mentioned, this set of guidelines is something that's put together by the Australian Spy Agency. I know sometimes I think I'm in a James Bond movie, but this is where we are at the moment. So the Australian Signals Directorate are working now with the Australian Cybersecurity Centre to give us a set of guidelines on what we need to do as IT organisations and what we need to do as businesses to make sure that we are doing everything we can to protect our data. So the first thing that I will cover is the maturity levels that there are inside the Essential 8. So the Essential 8 is broken up into 4 maturity levels. There's a maturity level 0, maturity level 1, 2, and 3. Now, with these maturity levels, every business will not be able to achieve maturity level 3. It is not starting from maturity level 0 and working your way up to maturity level 3. The reason is some of the security measures inside maturity level 3 would render most businesses inoperable. So it is a matter of having an organisation like Crash or an MSP like us work out where your business sits and how we can fit you into these maturity levels. So currently we're working with Paige at Diamond Valley, and we have been introducing or running some tests to see where we can get Diamond Valley up to in terms of our maturity levels. Now, some of the things that we do tick off maturity level 3, some of the things we do tick off maturity level 2, some of the things we do tick off maturity level 1. What we believe is going to happen in the near future, and it's very evident by what is happening at the moment, is over the past couple of years, one of the biggest things that has come out has been the notifiable data breach. So the minute somebody gains access to any of your information, there is a government body by where you need to report that you had a data breach. Now, up until this point, what happens when you notify the organization that there's been a data breach is everybody just looks at each other and goes, well, thank you. Thank you for telling me. Have you told your customers? And you say, yes, I've told my customers. And everybody just continues to look at each other because nobody knows what to do, that this information has gone out into the world. What we can see now that is happening with Optus and with the class action that is now facing Optus is that at some point there is going to be fines allocated when this data gets out into the world and people get this information. So we anticipate that at some point over the next couple of years that this will become a mandated legislation, and part of that legislation will be that if you are not part of the Essential 8 or do not have or have not implemented anything to do with the Essential 8, there will be a sliding scale in terms of what fines you get. So if you have no part of the Essential 8, well, you'll be liable for a maximum amount. And if you have, you know, if you've met every part that you can of the Essential 8, then there will be no penalty. You will just need to follow the guidelines. But what I can tell you has happened and that I have seen is that most businesses now are looking to use some sort of cyber insurance for a downtime or data breaches. And what is happening is we are now starting to see on these insurance policies what type of maturity level does your business have. So that is something that I have seen myself, and I know is going to be coming out on a lot more insurance policies. And if you don't have anything to do with the Essential 8, I would be very confident that you may not receive insurance. So on this slide, the Essential 8 was first published in 2017. That documentation is now almost being updated weekly. As Kultar will tell you, we ran one of these presentations only a few weeks ago, and since we ran that presentation, the documentation has already been changed, and it's up to us to stay across that and maintain that. As I've said already, I've gone through all of these already, Coulter, level 1, 2, and 3, and 0, and we want to be across. We want to be across some sort of maturity level. This slide again just highlights pretty much exactly what Coulter had said. I just want to elaborate on that a little bit, just to give you an idea on the sophistication and the amount of money that is spent on this type of thing. We know of adversaries who have migrated families across to Australia. They're set up as a regular family. They do all the family things. They join up with Telstra. They join up with Optus. They join up with AGL. They get all their bills. They send all that stuff back to HQ, and the phishing campaigns begin. So at one point, about 2 years, pre-COVID, ransomware was worth to these companies about 300 million US per month. So this is a massive industry that is just growing and growing. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we are across this as much as we can.
Awesome. Thank you, Dean. So just on this slide, we talk about the essential 8, that there's application hardening, patching operating system, patching applications, configuring macro settings, application control, restricting admin privileges, having multi-factor authentication, and backups. This is what will help mitigate any of the challenges. From a challenge, if you've had an incident, you just need to make sure we are able to identify what has been affected, if people have been affected, assets, the data, and the capability of that challenge, just to make, and from there, how do we protect and keep providing critical services, detect, develop, and implement the right right policies, and be able to respond. So have a plan, like a business continuity plan in place, to be able to recover and respond within a quick time frame. So from a perspective of what change is coming is, just recently, a month ago, they are looking at enforcing a new bill, and both the houses have to pass the bill. At present, it is about the information, which is the privacy laws and reviewing the privacy laws. And if the bill passes both the houses, they're looking at fines being at 50 million. Now, I know that's a very large number, but they are looking at businesses like Optus or larger businesses who affect a number of individuals rather than small, medium businesses. Or it could be 3 times the value of the benefit obtained, like what was paid out. It could be 30% of turnover. So this is what is being just being spoken, like from a GDPR perspective, from examples on what the government is looking at. British Airways website was hacked, and the users were being diverted to the hackers' website. About 40,000 customers got affected. That was worth $400 million fine. H&M was affected because they were they had information on the company's network drive. So these are some examples on that. I won't get into the personal information, what personal data is, what personally identifiable information is. All this information is available, but it is being updated. This is from the Australian government website, so you can find that information. The Australian Information Commissioner is the one who's enforcing the Notifiable Data Breaches Act. So I don't want to go through this, but there's a lot of data which can be taken as personal information. So, Dean, could I quickly get you in to speak about the 5 steps to safeguard your data?
Yeah, perfect. So from a technology point of view, we look at a few ways to cover and protect your data, which all work in line with the Essential 8 at various levels. So a firewall is probably one of the most important assets your business can own. That can control data in and out of your network. There are so many connotations we can look at. If anybody's attacking your network, if there is data in your network that's going out that shouldn't be, we can do country blocking. We can just pretty much control all the data flow in and out of your business, and all that kind of stuff. We're able to report once a week, once a day, however, or wherever reports are required. If there is any type of intrusions, that can email head office and we can follow those up. So really, really important to have a firewall in your business. Now, most of you would have a firewall in your business, but if it's not configured correctly, then there's no use having a firewall. Spam filters are really, really important because they will catch probably about 80% of phishing emails. Spam filter is what looks for the, as Kultar said, the Nigerian prince email. Now, not all of those get caught, which then links into the 5th point, which is staff training and cybersecurity awareness. Most of you will find out that that is going to become compulsory for any type of cyber insurance that you require for your business. There's going to need to be a training plan for your staff. Server antivirus and endpoint antivirus. There's never been a more important time to have that type of infrastructure on your machines. It is probably your 2nd line of defense behind your firewall. Now, like Kultar said, we're Sophos partners and all that integrates into each other, but you don't have to use Sophos. But it's critical that you have this type of software on your servers and on your endpoints and on your phones now. And business continuity and Office 365 backup or G Suite backup. Business continuity now is probably the most important thing, probably the biggest step from the disaster recovery. Most of the businesses that we deal with have had a disaster recovery plan. So that is where your server, let's say you're using a server, it blows up, and we can rebuild. But that in itself, in particular over COVID, has caused an amount of challenges, in particular in hardware. If you have a hardware failure, there's no use having a backup, because if you can't get new hardware, you're going to be down for an extended period of time. So if you have a disaster recovery plan, which is back up to hard drives and someone takes those home, your business is going to be down for a minimum of 2 to 3 days. That's just a given, if not longer. Whereas a business continuity plan allows you to be back up and running within half an hour to an hour with different types of products that we use, which we use Datto, which allows us to recover servers within half an hour or 45 minutes. So that's quickly just a quick touch on those 5 steps. Like Kultar said, this is recorded, and feel free to contact us if you want to go over anything further.
Cool. Thanks, Dean. So quickly, in regards to cyber resilience, there's the perimeter defense, the first step, but then there's also people, processes, and the right technology. So having the right policies, having the right technology is absolutely required, because 43% of attacks are on small, medium businesses. 85% of email attachments are harmful. The ones which are the phishing emails. 91% of attacks are launched from a phishing email. It is a very expensive, also lucrative business for a lot of business for the guys who are in the ransomware industry. So we are seeing more and more people being affected by ransomware. So once again, back to the point, the fattest finger, human error. How do we, or how can you stop it? Is by having that business continuity solution. For example, a quick overview of what a Datto appliance does. It sits in your environment. It protects physical machines, virtual machines. It's a dedicated appliance, and also has a dedicated cloud offsite, which is in Australia. If your system is affected by ransomware or the server dies, we manage it, so we can easily bring up the machine as a virtual server, get you guys working on that. If at all, because of a natural disaster, you don't have access, or for some reason you can't go on site and you need to still work, everything can be launched in the cloud, and your business can still keep working.
Kultar, can I just touch on that point just quickly?
Sure.
We're talking about this product. We've used it in real world scenarios. When that photo was taken of the Brisbane floods, we had one of our customers who were affected, and the power company shut down all the power into the city. So our Datto appliance became inoperable. So we had to run that business from the cloud. Now, obviously, it's not the same as running inside your office. However, when they shut the power down, it was the 30th of the month. They had about $500,000 worth of billing that needed to go out. And they were able to get their billing out on the 30th of the month by us firing up their servers in the cloud, hence keeping the business continuing.
Thank you. If we think about Microsoft Office 365, a lot of people are being pushed onto the cloud. Microsoft wants to have everyone onto their Office 365 platform. We need to understand that Microsoft is not responsible for your data. It's responsible for providing the platform and making it available, which is the uptime. However, if you're deleting emails, if there's malware attack or a ransomware attack on your Office 365, they can encrypt your Office 365 environment. Microsoft won't help you recover. So Microsoft says, hey, it's a shared responsibility. We recommend that you regularly back up, have it offsite, or have it in another person's cloud. This is what they say. So some data which has been collected from Microsoft says that on an average, if you're not doing the right policies to keep the items get deleted after a month mostly. So there's permanent deletion from there. So we recommend an Office 365 backup platform as well. It is very important that having cloud to cloud backup is important, so you can recover quickly. So your Teams, your Exchange Online, your OneDrive, your SharePoint data is protected by having a backup. So see, with that, the main things, just to finish off, is yes, we are being attacked. However, if you have the right policies, procedures, and technologies, you will be able to recover quickly. It is important you're providing your customers ongoing security awareness training, having the right password management, which is having the right password policies, multi-factor authentication, long phrases, alphanumeric characters, and changing that. This is extremely important. Never leave your devices unattended. If at all you have to walk away, Windows L locks your computer, locks your screen. Remember that. Simple. Windows L, always lock your screen. Be careful always look at the URL or the domain that is sending you emails to make sure you're not being someone known to you is not emulating and trying to get in using a phishing attack. Also, antivirus malware, extremely important. Backups, business continuity is a must-have. You have to recover. Business still needs to continue. Business continuity is really important. If your employees are bringing their own mobile devices, you need to have a policy in regards to making sure they have a PIN or they have certain apps and have the right policy in regards to what access they have from that work device. Security testing configurations is something which we as an IT provider helps. So if you have an IT provider, make sure they are doing intrusion detection tests and your firewalls, your policies are up to date. So from a security awareness training perspective, there's a number of companies now which will automate and provide training for you. Charge you probably a monthly cost, or it's something which we can provide as well, where we will provide emails which will look like they are legitimate from someone. However, it's a phishing email. If someone clicks on them, then it links to a video and educates them, hey, this is not what you were supposed to click on. So that's a part of your security awareness training. So phishing link emails can be sent out, and campaigns on people trying to get password information or luring your employees to try and put in the credentials where they don't need to. That's something which is being automated as well by different vendors, different companies. They send out emails or attachments or send them a link to a different website, and they try and click on that, and it takes them to an informative video saying, hey, you should have checked this. Is there a secure lock? Is this HTTPS secure website? Not what are you clicking on? Learn from that. And there's different training campaigns. So there's technologies out there, different security topics. Today, just being mindful of time, I'm not being able to take you guys through different examples of what to look out for. But basically what you should look out for is what's the word usage, right? Is the grammar correct? What URL is it coming through? What domain is it coming through? Is it something which you expected? Is it very obvious? So you should check before you click on thing. So there's different training modules which we can provide as well. Just wanted to quickly talk about making sure your passphrases, you keep changing them, have multi-factor authentication, and always look out that, hey, this could be a malicious email. See, with that, we would like to open up for questions. Please, yeah, I can unmute you, or if you post a question, we will be able to answer that now.
Just quickly, while anyone's gathering their thoughts, what's the typical gold standard? It's a bit hard to say gold standard, but like when you're running an appliance on site, how often would it be snapshotting the system?
So if we're talking about a Datto appliance,
yeah,
the Datto appliance is really for us to configure.
Yeah.
So we like to have them snapshotting every hour.
Yep.
So we've had instances where a client has been ransom attacked. Say, like we do the backups on the hour, and it's not traditional backup, right? So the backup doesn't go for 2 hours because it uses a special technology called change block tracking. So the backups, when you do a backup every hour, you know, the backups run for minutes. So we typically do it on every hour and can recover back to the last hour.
So if you got hit, crypto locked or something, you could literally start trading from an hour ago potentially.
Absolutely, depending at what point of the hour you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst case would be, say, 59 minutes.
Yep.
Best case, 2 minutes. And it's happened to our clients, and we've been able to there's a recovery process that goes, but yes, worst case would be 1 hour.
I'm going to do an unmute there. Yep.
Hi, just wondering with Sympac, have they got any plans to actually start offering this as a hosted platform in the cloud so that the smaller, I suppose, businesses have a better platform, a more affordable platform and secure to keep it through and pay like a monthly fee?
As far as, are you talking about hosting your, like cloud hosting your entire system or your backup?
No, the Sympac. If instead of having a server on site, basically they have it either hosted or have a proper pure cloud solution.
Yeah, that's available. We don't do the hosting. We don't provide that. That's available through. So you need to go through a third party, and we'll work with you on what's appropriate and what the limitations are, and so the positive and negative of that. So we've got quite a few companies do that, and depending on the operation and the details as to how appropriate it is and what the positives and negatives are. So yeah, get in touch with us at just at sales@Sympac. Flick me an email and we'll touch base and go through it. So yeah, that is.
Thank you.
All right. I actually had one other more, and sorry if this is the wrong question. I actually am not sure. Is the best standard type of firewall a hardware firewall? Or is it typically a software firewall these days?
Well, the thing is, because so the firewalls that we typically use are Sophos XG firewalls, which you buy. You can buy a physical box or you can buy the software license.
Yep.
Really, we prefer the physical box because you've actually got something that you can see, and you know, at the end of the day, that's probably a personal preference.
Yep.
But if you do not buy the hardware, then you have to put it on a PC anyway, and that has to, you know, whereas the hardware comes with multiple network ports. So if we need to segregate networks, we can. So really the software component, and this is why we love Sophos, the software that we use to protect 5 users is the same software that we use to protect 2,000 users. And the hardware just grows depending on size of users. So to answer your question, that's more a personal preference.
Yeah, thanks for the personal education session. All right. Well, I think I don't see any other questions there. So,
okay. There's a question. It is in regards to all servers, operating systems being more vulnerable to attack. So, Dean, can you tell us the challenges and why Windows keeps releasing these updates? And
yep. Thanks, Kulta. Yeah, so I guess I should preface what I'm saying by I am a Microsoft certified technician. Even though I own the business, Microsoft servers has been my life for the last 30 years. And Microsoft have a fantastic business model that when they get something perfect, they change it and everybody else has to change with it. So at various points, they leave their old server software out to dry. And what happens is, as those servers become end of life, just like everything else, like a car, when it becomes end of life, Microsoft don't support it anymore. And what happens is it becomes more vulnerable to attacks because there are no patches for it. So to answer that question, absolutely. Older servers, older, not so much older hardware, but more older software, it becomes more vulnerable to attacks just because Microsoft are not working on it. Their time is focused elsewhere.
Yeah, there's more and more vulnerabilities being exploited. And it's just like many times people are doing this for fun, trying to find something, and a lot of businesses, a lot of vendors, let's say, for example, Apple or Samsung, they'll have a hacker day where they'll say, come and break our system and tell us about what we need to improve. So people do this for fun as well. And then they'll publish online, hey, I found a vulnerability over here, and this, and someone will pick it up and say, oh, this is not patched. Let's release something for this and use this to then deliver our payload. So it is recommended and required, as per the Essential 8, to make sure you are patching your systems. That's literally point number 1. Patch your systems on the Essential 8.
And that's right down to the terminal level. So if I've got point of sale terminals running Windows 7, they've got integrated FPOS, I'm sitting on vulnerability.
If your systems, if you've got systems on Windows 7, we have problems.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. The Windows 7 is you might as well be running on Windows XP.
Yeah.
For those of us old enough to know Windows XP.
I started in the DOS days.
Kulta, I think that any more questions, guys?
No, I can't see any more questions. So with this, I would like to thank Rob and the Sympac team for having us. Dean, thank you for your time. To the attendees, we will be emailing you the link to this webinar. You can contact us at sales@crashtechnology.com.au. If you've got any questions, we can help you with that. If you've got any concerns, we're happy to help answer some of your concerns as well. And Rob, I can provide you a copy of the PowerPoint presentation as well for your reference if anyone wants to have access to that.
Beautiful. And by the same token, if any other questions, get in touch with sales at Sympac, give us a buzz or flick us an email, and only too happy to help. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll wrap
See you
it up.
guys.
Cheers. See ya.
Bye.